Hi there, my name is Kay Moon, and I'm a twin soul channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Capricorn that occurred on January 2nd, 2022 at 1:33 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. If not, please check your local time zone for your local time. This video is for the Lightworker Collective, and there's a couple of interesting energies about this new moon in Capricorn. It is the first new moon of 2022, and so it does bring forward the signature of themes we're going to be dealing with over the course of 2022. And in particular, in the first 3 months, as we move through the Venus retrograde period, which I will cover in this video. And I'll also link below some of the thematics for the Venus retrograde period that I covered in a preceding video. There'll be a timestamp below that video so that you'll be able to find the themes for the Venus retrograde period. A couple of things of note before we get into the major energy. This particular new moon is high earth and high cardinality. And what this means with cardinal energy always talks about new beginnings. Its cardinal signs are the initiatory sign of every season. And earth energy talks about things happening in the world of physical form. And so what we have here is new beginnings in the physical form, be it money, be it body, be it home, be it structure of work, workplace, residence, but all sorts of new beginnings taking place in the world of physical form at this particular moment in time. That is a theme for 2022, almost like a new structure to our worlds, a new order to the way we are operating here on planet Earth, a new sequencing for the way our world is configured. Okay, this particular new moon is coming with a square to Chiron. So here's when we have a new moon, we have sun and moon sitting together, and there they are at that 12th degree of Capricorn, the constellation Capricorn. We have a 90-degree angle just about to planetary body Chiron. We also have a trine to planetary body Uranus here from Taurus. And just to start with these two energies, with these energies influencing the new moon, we have a bit of energy as we flow into and flow from this new moon period, a bit of energy having to do with our wounds being up, our triggers being up, and then surprise reactions to those wounds and those triggers being up. Like, oh, didn't know, I thought that, felt that, would react in the world of physical form, would behave as a result of those triggers in that way. What's interesting about this is that there's also, if we want to include some of the minor planetary bodies here, what we also have is this sextile to Nessus and Pallas here. This is about the protection of what we understand our spiritual truths to be, and a willingness to work at protecting those spiritual truths. And then we also have a bit of a square to the shaman's asteroid as well. So here's shaman's asteroid known as Makemake. And now we start to call in the energy of what we as astrologers call the T-square. It's an energy of tension. Opposite shaman's asteroid, we have Chiron, both teachers, both healers. And here we have the new moon sitting at the fulcrum point. Those of you who've been with me for a while have heard me say that when we have a T-square, it gives us the energy of paralysis, a stuck point, an energy of tension where we may feel pulled in two different directions. Our wounds on one side needing attention and healing, and that which we owe to other people as our duty as shaman in our own collective rights for the people we're here to serve. We have that on the other side. How do we find balance? Where's the answer? with every single group of modal signs, and this is a cardinal T-square, new moon in cardinal sign Capricorn, Chiron in cardinal sign Aries, and we have Shaman's asteroid in cardinal sign Libra. The answer is in the cardinal sign that's conspicuous in its omission. And that's over here with where the Earth sits in the constellation of Cancer. So how do we access this? How do we work this? We work this by allowing ourselves to tap into our emotions, to dig in to our emotional truth and our emotional reality, to get in alignment with our emotional truths and be in emotional integrity, acting in the way that we know that we feel, but being honest about those feelings so that they are neither coming from a place of victimhood nor coming to a place of duty and obligation, but instead coming from a place of here's where my heart is and what my heart actually says. Because we can have feelings about all kinds of things, but not all feelings are actually authentic. Some feelings come from, breaking with the culture, and what the culture dictates is what we're supposed to do, or family dictates or norms, and breaking with those. Some feelings come from disappointment or letdown from having bought into certain dreams or prescribed realities for us and breaking with those, right? Authentic feelings are the ones that come from our heart and that are love-based. But giving ourselves permission to bridge the gap between the two. Okay, what's the truth in love, and where do I actually feel something different than that right now? And how do I take care of myself? What's the emotional self-care here? And how do I remember myself to the family of light and the family of love that I've chosen to be a part of here on planet Earth? Okay, so that's the work at this particular lunation. How do we get in alignment and congruency with the emotional truth that's in our heart, in spite of the challenges that we're facing in the world of physical form? Triggers being up, emotional triggers from other people coming our way, and how do we deal with that in the process? So, let me just see what we have. There can also be a couple of surprises in the world of relationship with the Uranus trine to the new moon in Taurus, and a bit of revelation about what our next step is and what needs our care and our attention, where our particular work is. So if something surprisingly shifts in the world of relationship, in the world of physical form, or you get like surprise news in the world of physical form or relationship, this is a great time to, again, remember your emotional center, remember your heart center, and where you're guided to be in terms of the way you want to work in love here on planet Earth. So if you've already heard something that resonates, we're going to dive into more of these energies in a moment. But if you're new here, definitely welcome. Hit the subscribe button. I'm here at the new and full moon to provide guidance about what energies you may be experiencing and witnessing around you. And if you've heard something that resonates and you're not new here, feel free to hit that like button. It certainly helps the algorithm circulate the content. The calendar at the very end of January and beginning of February is open. So if you would like to book a reading with me to map through the energies of 2022, you certainly can. Link is below. Find me at K-Moon Astro. The big story at this new moon in Capricorn is the Pluto and Venus conjunction and the way that Venus is retrograding back and forth over Pluto. We can find them both here. Venus in green, Pluto in blue. This particular energy, and I'm going to talk about it a lot over the course of the next several lunations. So there'll be a timestamp in each of the videos. So if you want to go back and kind of hear what, how this energy is mapping forward through the trajectory, because it's been with us since November, certainly hit big in December. It's going to be with us through January and February. The storyline here is about confronting our shadow. Pluto represents our shadow energies, the things about ourselves that we'd rather people not deal with, we'd rather not show them, things about ourselves that we dislike and we would rather disown. This particular Venus retrograde is asking us to bring those disowned parts of us home, to take a look at our shadow and understand its intended positive outcome for who we are. There's no part of ourself that didn't get born or isn't jockeying for a particular outcome with a particular reason in our lives. And that is especially true about the shadow parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we'd rather lock in a closet, tuck away, not have to deal with, the addicted part of ourselves, the cruel or mean parts of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that check out, the parts of ourselves that overeat, or the parts of ourselves that may be gossipy or belittling to other people. Pick your poison. Everyone has a shadow, but that shadow has an intended positive outcome. There's no make wrong here to it, but this is an opportunity to integrate that shadow into the rest of our light being and give that part that has an intended positive outcome a seat at the table to make its voice known so that we can work with it and give it the opportunity to be a part of our greater self rather than manipulating our greater self. Because unfortunately, when we don't deal with our shadow has a way of dealing with us and coming out when we least expect it, when we'd rather not see it, causing havoc in our relationships, in our work world, in our health, in our lives. So this Pluto-Venus conjunction, Venus represents all the things that we value in life at a mundane level. Venus represents value, represents love in mundane astrology, money in mundane astrology, chemistry, attraction, and connection. It can represent beauty as well. And in the way that I read astrology, it is simply that which we are drawn to. We have Pluto, which is the energy of destruction, death, ending, and completions. It is the energy of the fulfillment of things before they transition into something else. It is, in the way that I read astrologically, the energy of the resurrection cycle. Death, afterlife, rebirth. It is the cycle of moving from one incarnation into another, with that pause in between for transmutation and transcendence. Now, with the ruler of endings and shadow and death, talking to the ruler of all that which we value, you can imagine the havoc this may wreak in our lives, or that can be wrought in our lives. With this, we had 2 meetings. Venus went forward, crossed over Pluto. Then Venus went backwards, crossed over Pluto again. She is now still moving backwards, and she will cross over Pluto a 3rd time when she walks forward again towards the end of this month, the beginning of February, the end of February, she will cross over Pluto again. So this energy is going to be with us for some time, giving us the opportunity to deal with the things that are coming up. Now, the gifting in this energy is the way in which it is going to come up for conscious consideration. Mercury is sitting very close to this configuration, and Mercury rules the conscious mind, and Mercury is about to walk retrograde with Venus crossing over Pluto, bringing the issues to conscious mind so that we can see them for what they are and deal with them with the wherewithal of mind that may not have been accessible to us when we were repressing these issues into the shadow. Venus will also go direct. It'll cross over Pluto 3 times as well. And this is a gifting. As difficult as the month of December was for many people because of the conjunction of Pluto and Venus, bringing all of our triggers up to the surface, the movement of Mercury in this configuration is going to give us permission to sort out and finally understand why the issue and the patterns that we have had in Venusian related matters has been the issue from the beginning. It's going to illuminate for us the problem that the shadow side has created in love and money and connection. in the world of value, in our connection with self and connection with work, with money. It's going to give us illumination, finally, on why the issue is the issue and what can be done about it. The thing I love about this is the fact that Pluto also governs power. It governs our personal power. And where Pluto sits in our natal charts is where we have a particular amount of personal power that cannot be taken away from us. We were born with it. It was gifted to us. Our lives are imbued with it. And so where this is happening in your chart, which is going to be the sign of Capricorn, that's the place where you have the personal power by transit to make a change. An opportunity to create a shift is given to you with this period of time to put an end to the way shadow may have been manipulating your character, your conscience, your conversation. Put that to an end, move into a transition and transmutational process, and then be reborn on the other side with some new behaviors, new attitudes, new ways of dealing with the vulnerable parts of ourselves. I love this. It's a huge opportunity for transformation and growth. The only way that works is if we are willing to face that which has haunted us in the Plutonian area of our lives, the Capricornian area of our lives that we have otherwise struggled with, hidden, and wished we could have somehow different. We have to be willing to face that now. And that's the gifting of this. We also have Juno here. So let me get rid of some of these lines so that we can see a little bit clearer. So we have Mercury to the left, and we have Juno to the right, both sitting quite close to this Venus-Pluto configuration. Mercury is going to walk back and forth just like Venus. Juno will not. Juno energy is divine feminine energy. She is divine partnership energy. She is the energy of the partner that we can actually commit to, follow through with, and settle with. With Juno in the mix here, we have supportive divine partners to help us through this very challenging time. There are people just in the wings because Juno's going to cross over this whole configuration. She's essentially holding space for this transformation to take place. So if you look around yourself again in the third dimension, high Earth at this time, and we have all of this taking place in Earth sign Capricorn. If you look around yourself, you will see that the divine has placed around you people who can help you, partners who can help you move through this. You are not moving through this alone. There are supportive people who can assist you with transmuting this energy and coming through on the other side. So because this is a theme that is imprinted in the entirety of our astrological year, as this is the first new moon of the entirety of the year, it's going to be really important to continuously look around you over the course of this year for who has my back, who are my partners in healing, who is willing to support me as I move through this process of transmuting my shadow and integrating my shadow into the light by recognizing its intended positive outcome for me. All right. So there's a gifting in that. Now, this is the core energy, but it gets more complex. The complication comes through as this energy is squaring Eris, E-R-I-S, in the sign of Aries. Eris wants us to be very cognizant of where we have been victim or left out of other people's situations, not considered, being tossed to the side, being excluded and or disenfranchised. The victim song is going to be loud. Woe is me. I didn't receive. Someone took from me X, Y, C. Fill in the blank. The victim song will be quite loud. Simultaneously, we also have this square to the creation goddess here. And this again represents a choice point where we have T squares. The answer is always in the sign conspicuous in its omission. We have creation goddess here on the opposite side, and she wants us to do a new thing in the world of relationship. Notice how creation goddess is stationed in the sign of Libra, partnership. Notice how Eris is stationed in the sign of the self. We can either wallow in our wounding over here and the ways in which other people have taken from us or not given to us, or the ways in which life has been unfair, or we have the opportunity to create new partnerships and create new ways of going forward as we transmute our shadow. The choice is ours, but the access to the choice is going to come through recognizing and validating our emotional realities. Conspicuous in its omission is cardinal sign Cancer. There's nothing sitting in the later degrees of Cancer here. So, what does Cancer want us to do? It wants us to acknowledge the pain of exclusion and disenfranchisement, and simultaneously recognize that through that, we have the opportunity to create a new path forward. We have the opportunity to move beyond that, find co-creative partners, co-create with the divine, and step into a new community, a new transformation, a new way of being on earth with people who actually want to build with us. That's the gifting here. We can wallow or we can rise in wisdom, but the choice is up to us. The only way to be able to rise with this kind of energy is to really get into taking care of ourselves emotionally, validating that what hurt, hurt. The feelings are real. There's no reason to tell yourself that you should not feel that way. That just creates more shadow. Instead, we have to invite the feelings out. We have to look at them and deal with them. We need to ask them what their message was for us. And we have to engage in that intermediary step that's after the death. We didn't get what we wanted. We are hurting because of it. And now we need to deal with that intermediary step of transmutation and healing before we can be reborn into a new cycle again. For many of you, this is going to be taking place in the world of family. Certain family issues that will have come up, dealing with the fact that the mom or the dad you got is just not the one that you needed or that you felt like your ego needed, but certainly it was the one your soul needed in order to transcend in this lifetime. For others of you, this may be about work. Maybe you didn't get the bonus, promotion, or position that you needed, or you've been disenfranchised in the world of work, passed over for an extended period of time. Again, Cancer being about family, Capricorn, where all of this stuff is taking place. The initiatory energy is in the world of work, Cancer down here about family. For others of you, this is going to be about ways in which you've let yourself down, or you've been let down in the world of relationship, Aries being the sign of the self, Libra being the sign of relationship. Wherever this is taking place for you, know that the thematics of whether or not you're going to be choosing love or darkness, light or death, these are themes for 2022. Okay, and I'll cover these more as I talk about the energies of the Scorpio Taurus eclipse cycle as we move into other videos. Okay, but continue to understand that the answer is going to be by dealing with your own emotions, bringing your own emotional realities home, and paying attention to what your shadow is trying to tell you about what it is you actually need. Because the more we disown the shadow, the more it tends to manipulate us. But the more we can bring it home and give it voice, the more opportunity we have to heal and be integrated whole people. Know that as you're moving through this, you're going to be seeing a lot of projecting energy from those who are unconscious. There will be a lot of, you're at fault, you're to blame, you're the problem here kind of energy from people who just aren't willing to deal with or look at their shadow. Why can't you fix yourself in the circumstance? Know that it's not your job to heal them. They will heal or not, rise or not on their own. But that as you need to create appropriate boundaries so that you can continue to move into your next highest vibration and frequency on your own. Okay. Don't try to get into shouting matches or arguments with people who are actively trying to defend their shadow without integrating and healing it. It will not be worth your time, not in 2022. Okay. So other energies going on here that echo and reinforce this. That's one of the major thematics of this particular lunation. And if you've certainly heard something that resonates, again, I invite you to subscribe. If you're new, hit that like button as well, because that again helps other people find their way to this content as it presents in their feed. We've got Mars opposite Lilith during this lunation. Mars in Sag, we've got Lilith down here in Gemini. This is our communication axis. Mars is motor and motivation. Lilith deals with a lot of our pain around rejection and our unwillingness to compromise. So you can find that at this time, there is lots of verbal ambition and lip service to what we say we believe. And this is because of the way there's a T-square between Lilith and Mars and Neptune and Pallas over here in Pisces. Pisces being about a lot of our spiritual connection. Sag over here being about our belief system, and then Gemini over here wanting to put communication on it. So we can have a lot of verbal ambition and lip service to what we say we believe, but the proof is going to be in the details. Again, conspicuous in its omission, mutable T-square, mutable sign Virgo. There's no planetary occupation there, but we can occupy that energy through our own divine free will. Virgoan energy is about paying attention to those details. Again, earth sign energy, it's about the world of form. How are we showing up? Are we actually walking the talk? Virgo likes to sort those kinds of things out. So it's not about what we say we believe, but it's more so with this particular energy, it's going to be about what we do. People, have you ever heard the phrase or like the example, people who aren't lying don't actually say, I'm not lying. They don't have to. It's not even in their mind that they're not lying. People who aren't cheating don't actually have to say, let me prove it to you. I'm not cheating. See, they're just not cheating and they'll want to help you be secure. People who aren't trying to con you don't actually have to say, I'm not conning you. I'm not trying to get one over on you. It's the people who have more talk than they have walk that you have to worry about. And so what you're going to want to pay attention to, not just in yourself, but also in the people around you, is where you're getting a lot of lip service and that's not being backed up by action, where you're seeing incongruence in your own actions and words and other people's actions and words. Where you're getting the incongruence in yourself, you already know what to do. Clean it up, deal with it. Why is the incongruence here? What's the emotion behind this that's causing me to be incongruent with myself? Where you're seeing that with other people, with this kind of energy, you can certainly give them the opportunity to talk it through. But again, the proof is in the pudding. Are they willing to do the work? That's the only question you need to be paying attention to. During this period of time of 2022, and certainly at this lunation, what you're going to discover is that there are some people who are just going to be moved from the front line or the front row in your life into the balcony seats because there is incongruence between word and deed. And that's going to cause you to feel like trust isn't necessarily there. Growth isn't necessarily there. Where there is congruence, you'll find you want those people closer to you. And where there is incongruence with self, you're going to find that this particular lunation and this energy that we're walking into the year with Venus retrograde conjunct Pluto, is going to call you out. Your relationships will call you out. Your work circumstances will call you out. Your money is going to call you out. You're going to find that your life is going to call you out on where there is incongruence between word and deed. And again, the answer is to step into this Virgo energy. Virgo energy is about discernment, taking care of your health and well-being. It's about the details. It's about following through in service. The more you can do that for yourself, the easier it will be to cultivate that frequency in your world, and people who just aren't a fit or a match for that will naturally vibrate out. So that's the Mars opposite Lilith theme. That's a sub theme of that Venus retrograde with Pluto, shadow energies being called out through incongruence and being brought to our attention through incongruence. We have a Vesta square Neptune theme going on here as well, which is a sub theme as well. Vesta is all about our commitments, and over here with Sag, about our higher principles in those commitments. Neptune is about our spiritual walk and our spiritual movement through world in the sign of Pisces. This particular energy is going to cause us to question those commitments, and we may break with certain commitments during this time because they're just no longer congruent to fulfill. They were part of an old us, an ego-based us, or a shadow-based us that at this time is no longer who we are. And so it's time to release the hold that those obligations had on our lives. It is time to forgive the debt, forgive ourselves, forgive the other person, let go. Neptune dissolves via hard angle to commitment focused Vesta. What it's doing is it's dissolving commitments. It's dissolving old promises that are no longer congruent with who it is we know ourselves to be in truth and in light. That's Sagittarius. So where you're finding it's time to update agreements and release and relinquish promises that were made based on an ego-based or shadow-based self, you may need to have conversations as we move through 2022 about dissolving those commitments. Okay. Now we have the energy also of Jupiter squaring the nodes. So let me just highlight that. Here's Jupiter, the expander, opportunity bringer, having moved all the way into Pisces. Here's our nodal energy here. There, North Node in Gemini, preparing to move into Taurus. South Node in Sag, preparing to move into Scorpio. With the square, the 90-degree angle. Again, we've got this energy of the T-square. So we have this conversation about choices, choice point, how to move through it. What we need, again, is to occupy this energy that lands just around Virgo, the 0-degree mark of Virgo, and the very end of Leo. This is about self-care and minding the details, self-love in the third dimension about that self-care. With this energy and the North Node pulling us all toward out of Gemini energy and into Taurus energy, again, this is about grounding the energy of walking the talk. Taurus is about the earth dimension. It's about what's happening in the world of form. Gemini is about communication and ideas. It's about what are we talking about. North Node pulls us in the direction we're meant to go. North Node Gemini and the collective moving toward Taurus is moving out of the world of idea into the world of form, moving out of the world of talk into the world of walk. And the way we access that is through paying attention to our self-love and self-care, that's Leo, and minding the details, following through about how we exercise and implement that Virgo is the sign of practical implementation. Jupiter as the square to the nodes is giving us the opportunity to choose. Are we going to anchor into this north node, or are we going to take another round exploring the south node themes? South node now moving into Scorpio has a lot to do with the exploration of shadow. Do we feel the need to dance a little bit longer with our shadow and the ways that the results the shadow has brought into our life? Or are we willing to step out of the shadow and into the world of love and harmony, which is what Taurus brings, and anchor that energy into our world? Again, the only way to access that is by dealing with what the shadow is bringing to the surface through this Venus retrograde, and dealing with the emotional realities that this is also bringing to bear in our worlds. It's going to be an interesting year for a lot of people. You may find that certain pockets during the year, you just need to take time outs from certain connections while you deal with your shadow and the other person deals with their shadow. You're also going to find that at certain pockets during the year, you're going to come to clarity that there are just certain connections that have completed because that person needs more time to dance with their shadow, to deal with the results that it yields in their life. And you're done with that. That's okay too. As your relationships evolve, know that it's because you as a soul are evolving, and there's nothing wrong with, as the chapter changes, new characters coming into your story. Okay. There's a karmic crossroads here as well, and a bit of a seasonality to this because of the way that Jupiter and Ceres are both speaking to the North Node. Ceres is the energy of seasonality, things that move in intermittent fashion that are here and then gone seasonally. There's a choice here between love and darkness. Again, that Taurus energy being about love and the Scorpionic energy being about shadow. It's about moving forward in love or repeating karmic lessons, as I said, to do with our shadow. Choices are going to be magnified at this time. And certainly because of the formation of this Mercury retrograde that we're about to step into as it moves back into Earth sign Capricorn, there's going to be illumination about the necessity of making the choice. Like I can either forgive myself, forgive other people, have compassion for myself and what I've been through, have compassion for other people. I can either forgive or I can continue to live in darkness, but there is no in between here. So we get the choice, and this year is a choice year, but know that because this is fixed energy, North Node, Taurus, South Node, Scorpio, fixed energy, the necessity of dealing with the choice is going to really dictate a lot of what happens in our lives after 2022. So it's not a year to be unconscious. It's not a year to be asleep. It's not a year to be faithless. It is a year to be faithful. And know that as long as you're working this and paying attention to what your shadow is in the realm of relationship, work, family, self, you are going to come out on the other side. Now, if this energy is feeling like it's swirling to you, but you're just not really clear about where it's at or what the issues are, definitely book a personal reading with me. This is the time to get clear about it during this Venus retrograde. There's space open in February as the Venus retrograde energy is active, just as the North Node's moving into Taurus. This is the opportunity to get clear about this and how to start to work this energy in your personal life so that you can move on to a continued ascension track. We have the ongoing energy of Uranus square Saturn here. This has been an energy that has asked us all to change the format and the structure of our lives, to take quantum leaps forward as certain structures have dissolved. The way we understand work as we know it is moving into a completely new format with this Saturn square Uranus from Aquarius to Taurus. The way we understand money with the rise of cryptocurrency is moving into a completely new format with the Saturn square Uranus. Saturn and Uranus being about quantum leaps in the structure of our lives, Uranus and Taurus being about the transformation of format and the ways that we care for ourselves, earn money, deal with money, spend money. Saturn square Uranus continues into the early parts of next year, transforming the structure of our lives. So what's going? It is important to not hold on fixed sign energy and instead let it transform during this period of time. The more we hold on, the harder this gets. And this energy, let me just see, there's a final energy here. Yeah, and that's echoed here with the thing that's going on with Pluto and Mercury. So let's just deal with this at this lunation. This is challenging thoughts, challenging thinking, challenging communication about necessary endings in our lives at this juncture. Again, Pluto, as I talked about at the start of the video, after I explained the new moon information, the Plutonian energy is all about endings, completion, shadow work, that resurrection cycle, death, afterlife, rebirth. We have Mercury here speaking to Pluto. You can see that they are 5 degrees apart there. And then Mercury is going to cross back over Pluto and touch it a second time, bringing challenging thoughts about recognizing necessary endings for certain things. And it's important to understand because of this, Pluto and Mercury, they're speaking in trine, in harmony to Ceres. Ceres does represent endings and seasonality to things, closures to certain things, things that are cyclical in nature. It's important to really understand that as certain cycles close at this time, because this is a trining energy, that 120-degree angles, whatever is ending at this time is ending for our own good, especially because of the way Saturn and Uranus are also in the mix, moving us to higher levels of operation here on planet Earth. There's also this energy as well, because there's a conjunction to Chariklo. She's the one I have not mentioned here. We've got Chariklo talking to this Mercury. They are 2 degrees apart. Chariklo looks out for our greater good. She represents the divine intercession on our behalf with the divine so that we can get a blessing out of this ending. We have a squared Eris to that Mercury-Pluto conjunction. Again, Eris wants us to recognize our victim song, which isn't a bad thing, only if we wallow in it and we don't rise. And that's square to the creation goddess. So we have that T-square here that we were talking about earlier. This is a need for real communication regarding our shadow and or the endings. This is a need for revealing the vulnerable truth of the circumstance. To ourselves or to other people so that a new beginning can be possible. Where you find other people seeking understanding from you about your shadow energies, my urgent request and plea for you is to get in touch with your shadow and be willing to reveal it, especially if you're cognizant of who you're not anymore. Be willing to share who you were, so that as people around you are start working to have compassion and forgive, give them permission to see who you were, give them permission to understand who you are not anymore, allow them in, let them see the old wounds that you have since worked on and healed. Reveal who you used to be so that you can forgive, complete the forgiveness process by offering them the chance to have compassion for who you used to be, because they certainly will be able to understand that. And as you're working to forgive yourself, give yourself that same compassion. As you work this process, as you face your shadow, Have forgiveness for who you used to be, for the you that made those old promises, created those traps and old obligations that are no longer relevant for you. Forgive yourself, forgive the debt, forgive your shadow, have compassion, and rise. Thank you so much for liking, subscribing, and sharing. The calendar is open. If you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so over at kmoonastro.com. Thank you so much. Take great care and bye for now.